Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you're tuning in from. So, we've got an exciting topic today. And welcome to the third year of the Global Empowerment Summit. Welcome back to those who joined us for the first 2 years, and a very warm welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. So, today we have a topic, a panel discussion on the future of personal growth. And we've got a very it's going to be interesting because we have some fellow speakers with similar, shall I say, background, but their specialization is quite different. Okay, so I'll just briefly introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Chrishanne, and I'm the wordsmith and a communication consultant. Basically, I help my clients to positively position their value, be it personal or professional, for either their online or offline presence by helping them to craft a clear and crisp message to suit the purpose of communication and their targeted audience. So we have four panel speakers to join me, and starting off with, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Alish? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Alish?
Absolutely right. Hi, Christian, and hi,
Okay,
everybody
I
else.
am not. I'm not gonna venture with the last name in case I butcher it. Okay, so Alish
don't,
is
don't. Just keep it
yeah,
short and sweet. Yeah.
yeah. So Alish is into corporate training, branding, into brand design and content creation, and so many other things. You can check out his LinkedIn profile to get all the details. Okay, then we have Yuva, who I know quite well. Yuva is by day is mathematics teacher in a primary school, but he's yet to be started, but hopefully soon. Side hustle is a life coach. He's a Jay Shetty life coach. And congratulations, Yuva. Recently, it's your 1 year anniversary of being the certified life coach. Okay.
Yes, Christian. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yeah, but tonight I'm going to talk in the head of a teacher because I believe education has a big part as
Sure.
it's as a big part of our personal growth. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then we also have Cynthia. She's got a very interesting title she's given herself, happiness coach. That is her area of specialization. She too is a life coach. And we've got Sham, who last year I got to know quite well, and this year as time goes by, I'm getting to know her even more. So Sham is into speaking, into writing, into content creation, into training people to get better at their presentation skills. Hi, Lalita. Thank you for joining us. So we'll start off with what is personal growth, because each of us will probably have a very different perspective and a very different way of thinking. So let's start the ball rolling with this discussion on personal growth. So Sham, would you like to get our discussion started?
Yeah, sure. I think personal growth is something that we need to focus on, either consciously or subconsciously, because it's something as decent or as important, perhaps, as almost as breathing. I don't
Okay.
think we can not grow. Think about not growing and actually survive well in this day and age, right? In this day and age, it's just it's intrinsic to us to grow. And if we
Yes.
don't, just like having stagnant water, if we stagnate, and if we
Yes.
don't just stay stagnant, we kind of regress. So yeah, I think personal growth to me is something that's truly important, and we should pay some attention to it.
Yeah, it's a necessity. There's no running away from growing. It's either the good, the bad, or the ugly, whichever direction it happens, and you have to go with the flow. Okay, Yuva, what would you like to add to this personal growth?
Well, for me, Christian, like personal growth is like a very basis of a any not just let alone human being, any living being need to grow because the very sign of someone whether they're living their life or dead is action. So growth is definitely part of the action. So I believe every living being must undergo growth to be better each day, day by day. So that's how I see personal growth.
Okay, living being, huh? Okay, so whether it's an animal or a human being. Okay, cool. Okay, how about you, Cynthia? What is your perspective?
Okay, for me, personal growth is literally your own or a person's way of improving, or I would rather use the word upgrading themselves. And this can be, your capabilities, understanding what you're capable of, and the possibilities that you can actually reach. There's always this one, you want to get somewhere, and there
Yes.
is always a possibility to actually reach there, but it's just a matter of how you do it and who you have to become in order to reach there. And this whole process is what I look at as your personal growth.
Yeah, so it's a journey, and
Yes.
along the way, you will have certain obstacles. Maybe things will
Mhm.
go well, maybe things won't go so well. And
Correct.
last but not least, Alish, what is your take on personal growth?
I think whether we know it or not, all of us go through it and all of us do it every day. The difference is whether we actually notice it or not and whether we have a direction or not. So for me, I feel like all of us are somehow doing it on a daily basis. And for those who know it and notice it and do it with conscious efforts,
Yes.
can actually grow much faster. That is what I think differentiates those who grow way faster than a normal person.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. When I was thinking earlier today, I wasn't consciously thinking about it, but my mind is always working on things in the background while I'm doing stuff. So what came to me when I was thinking of personal growth is there are different aspects: personally, professionally, socially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. So there's so many different facets to personal growth. And then I was also looking. We uh, each of us we had a little brainstorming session in the last 2 days, so that we can get aligned before in preparation for this discussion. And Andrea was kind enough to give us some articles and resources, which I very quickly today took a look. And one of it ties in a little bit to what we just talked about, which is the seven senses of self development. And they are, first of all, it's sense of self. Second is sense of curiosity. Third is sense of direction. Fourth is sense of follow through. Fifth is sense of urgency. Sixth is sense of resiliency. And last but not least is sense of connectedness. Now, this is actually very cool and awesome. It does make sense to me, because for me, resilience is important. Connectedness is also important. But with the last 2 years with this pandemic, we have had to find various ways and become very resourceful and creative in using technology to advantage, which ties into the theme of this summit, sustainable digital transformation. So, Yuva, so what do you think? Did you have a chance to check out the article?
Well, like I did not manage to have a look at the article, but I can have kind of a sense of what are the senses of this the seven senses here, especially connectedness, because you see,
Okay.
okay, I just want to bring a quote my former lecturers who he say, human beings are social creatures.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
because why? Because why? From the very beginning, the very first human being who was walking on Earth up to today, we evolved up to today because we form network, we
Yes.
socialize, we communicate. So therefore, as an entity, we are connected to each other. Despite the maybe the differences, all the social differences, but at one, we are connected to each other. So that is the very essence of our survival today. So connect. So therefore, I really see connectedness is very important for human being, especially. Yeah.
True, very true. But with all the social distancing and taking precautionary measures and so many restrictions, connectedness, we've had additional obstacles to deal with. So some of us are quite quick in pivoting and adapting it to it. Others maybe take a little bit more time to get there. Um, Cynthia, what would you did you have a chance to check out, or did you, when I was mentioning the seven senses of self development, what resonates with you?
I think for me, what resonated was the first one that you said, which is the sense of self. And I think
Okay,
when it comes to personal growth, um, it's very important that we actually have the sense of self, in the sense of that, you're kind of aware of what's happening, uh, as what you mentioned, spiritually, mentally, physically. And it's good to have this certain awareness of what's happening within yourself and what's happening on the outside of yourself. Because once you know what's happening, once you're conscious enough or aware enough to know all this, what you're feeling at a certain period of time or in a certain situation, then you're able to make much better judgment of how you can respond to a situation. And
correct,
this
correct.
this doesn't happen overnight. This happens, it does take some practice to get to know, okay, what am I feeling? Because generally when people move in life, right, go through life, we are not taught all of this kind of senses uh,
Correct.
in
It could be
school.
also our family upbringing or the
Right,
country where we come from, the
that's right.
culture or society and
Hmm.
our community. So not
Yes,
everyone is comfortable with feelings and thoughts and
right.
expressing it, or maybe they
Hmm.
were not given the opportunity to express themselves.
Yes, you're right. That's true. That's true. So yeah, that is for me what connected. And I think personal growth starts from there. I always would tell my clients that always be aware. Start being aware of yourself, of your environment. You have to start somewhere. Yeah.
Yes. Eilish, would you like to add on to it? Share with us your perspective.
Sure. The one that kind of resonates with me the most is curiosity, because
Okay.
to me, if you're not curious, others will not come to you,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Like maybe sense, like what Cynthia just mentioned about being aware of your environment. First, you gotta be curious to then find out about yourself or environment, or to, like Yuva mentioned about connectedness, right?
Yes.
That curiosity, I think, would somehow motivate the rest of the senses, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And
does.
that is
But at the
what
same
I've,
time, I want to throw the humor in. uh, so that because we want to make this an engaging, fun,
yeah,
humorous, dynamic discussion. Curiosity killed the cat, and I don't know, Yuva. Yesterday, I sent to a few friends. Yesterday's Garfield, the comic strip. So Garfield was saying, "I'm half bored, I'm half sleepy, and I'm half hungry." Okay, and then at the last blurb, it says, "And it looks like I also happen to be bad at mathematics, math." So each of us has our strengths and weaknesses, and we, of course, logically and reasonably, we should focus on our strengths. And then when we collaborate and work with others, then their strengths will also complement us, and it minimizes any uh, weaknesses, shall we say.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's very very true. It does help to complement what's missing. Yeah.
So Sham, okay, I know I detoured a little bit with Garfield, so I hope I haven't thrown your trend of thought.
No, whatever you've said doesn't make any sense of the senses. So I'm just kidding. Uh, okay,
Ah,
but I think it's, there are so many what should I say, principles that are thrown out there of what we could do, what we should do, and I don't
yes,
believe it should. I think each of us has to find our own way in what works best for us. So when we were discussing this, I mean, when we were kind of chatting before this, and Cynthia she mentioned mindfulness. So I
Yes.
think the sense of mindfulness really helps us. Mindful of how we react to our surroundings, mindful of how others perceive us, mindful of what's happening in the scenario where we are in. It's something that slowly, I mean, we just perhaps have to stop and feel, because we've got this bombardment of information and things happening around us and challenges we have to face. And sometimes we just have to be still and think, think for ourselves, take a break from our mind, because our mind has umpteen thoughts going through it. And is
Yes.
it easy? No, of course it's not. And so I would kind of resonate with both those senses of self and connectedness, because I believe
Okay.
connection is important, because I
True.
teach communicating to connect. So um, it's we are part of a bigger whole, a bigger biosphere, as they sometimes say, and we are all these infinite parts of it, and we are connected. Though we may
Okay.
realize it or not, we are kind of connected to each other, and
Yes.
coming to the mindfulness of of appreciating that connection, how it works for us, and how we can help others work with it. And I think that's what comes with, okay, then we go down to self personal growth, and it
Yes.
requires a bit of self leadership as well. I feel discipline is one important part of personal growth. Back to you, Krishan.
Okay, yeah. I suppose for some of us, maybe we took things for granted. The sense of self, curiosity, direction, follow through, connectedness, because we are so used to doing things our own way. Okay, in general, each of us, we have our own communication styles. Okay, and then before the pandemic, we had a certain way of doing things, and then over time we had to quickly scramble and figure out how best to use technology, how best to stay connected to people. Like for me, uh, I realize who my true friends are. And actually, interestingly, it's the people I got to know in recent times. It's not the people who know me the longest. Okay, and because of the challenges that each of us face in the last 2 years, when this pandemic hit, um, me and a few friends, we created our own, shall we say, circle of social support. So they know when I'm having a good day. I know when they are having a good day. Okay, for my friends, they know when I'm not having a good day. They see a really long message or multiple messages in a short period of time. And friends who have gotten to know me quite well, when they are comfortable enough, they also share with me whatever's bothering them, or maybe they ask for advice, or they just want a shoulder, a cry on, or a listening ear. So yes, it of course, for more extroverted people, it's a greater challenge. I'm not excluding or discrediting or underestimating the introverted people, but perhaps the dynamic of how much of difficulty and challenges varies. Okay, for introverts and extroverts, and I'm sure Yuva has something to say about this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, everyone can be divided by in two type, either they are extrovert or introvert. So I just want to say neither one or neither one is good or bad. I mean, we should embrace our what we are born with. If we are introvert, we should embrace it. We don't like. I I just want to quote. I just want to like share one quote from Eleanor Roosevelt through her article called "Man on the Arena." She says comparison is the thief of all joy. So when you start to compare, then you start see some lacking. Then you start to put others on pedestal. So what I would say is, firstly, you should embrace yourself. Doesn't matter if you're introvert or extrovert. That is your true self. That's your natural self. That's you're born with. Embrace it, and through personal growth, grow it, grow it better, foster it, so that you can use it. You can use it to serve the humanity. That's how I see it.
Okay, yes, that is a good point. Uh, Alish, hi, El, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Nora, for joining us. Oh, El's comment is virtual hug. Okay, I missed the rest of it. Something about connectedness to the curiosity sense. Okay, I think yeah. So virtual hug rather than the actual physical touch. Yeah, that's one of the things we have had to get used to. Alish, what would you like to add on from your perspective or from your personal experience with regard to personal growth?
I think what I went through a complete transformation. Speaking of my own experience, from being a not so responsible high school student who would skip classes, skip final exams,
Oh,
to
wow.
suddenly
Okay.
someone who were on the dean's list all the time, and everybody else was copying my notes in the class. And of course,
Wow.
after university
Quite the
life,
transformation, Alish, from skipping class and not doing so well academically, and then I suppose in college or university you were on the dean's list. That's awesome.
yeah, and then further on, while still a student, becoming independent from my family, doing more, to explore more, to experience more, to make more mistakes while I can, uh, kind of gave me the opportunity to look back and see how much I grew. I could never
Mhm.
see this when I was at the beginning of the journey. I never thought of, oh, okay, I woke up this morning, I look fresh, now I want to grow. It never happened like that. I
So
think it
it
all
wasn't a
comes,
conscious thing upon
not at
reflection
all,
or
not
when
at
you
all.
achieve certain milestones.
It only comes to you when you look back. At least this is what happened to me. I never saw in the future that, okay, this is what I want to do. I always look back and I was like, holy damn, I never thought I could even be here. I could never imagine. So that kind of growth, I think, is something that is valuable and is something that I've experienced. And I think it's important to understand as well that it's not about a goal. I want to highlight something. Goal is something that you set and you say, okay, I want to reach this in that particular timeline, right? And that is something specific. But
Yes.
this is not what we're talking about, because if I imagined what I want to be, I would
Okay.
never be able to exceed it like 20,000 times more.
You're talking
And
about sort of putting
I'm
limits
talking
on yourself.
about the motivation that caused that growth without me even knowing it. So the motivation made me grow way, way faster than I thought. And without even knowing I'm growing, I was actually pushing myself every day, working multiple jobs, part-time jobs when I was a student, and doing a lot of stuff to kind of gain experience. And again, make as many mistakes as possible.
While you can still afford it.
Absolutely.
So I
You
think
have no
it
idea how those mistakes helped me today.
I think
Yes,
it's
you
fail
want to
fast to
add?
fail fast to succeed sooner. There's a saying that goes like that, and I think there's
Yeah.
no
Oh,
age
that's
limit to how old you keep making mistakes. I can tell this because
There
I
is
probably one of the oldest in this group. Yeah.
fail
there is
fast
this
to
quote I
succeed
strongly
quick. Is
believe
it,
in.
Sham?
Yes, yes,
Sorry.
yes. Sorry,
Yes,
Alish. I
Alish. Yeah.
No worries. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
fail
Okay, I
fast to
wanted to
succeed
say
sooner.
exactly.
That's a good one. This is the first time I'm hearing it. How about y'all? Besides Sham, any of you heard this one?
No,
I
I
haven't
haven't
heard of
heard.
that, but
Yeah.
I heard this one: learn, unlearn, relearn, which is my daily
Yes,
life.
that is,
I make
yeah, that's
mistakes, I unlearn it, and I relearn it.
yeah, that is a mantra that has been circulating for a few years. And when we were brainstorming, also I mentioned it. It's about learning, unlearning, and relearning. And for those of us before the last 2 years, when this really dramatic event, global event happened, it's all about pivoting and learning new tools and making use of the various platforms. Before this pandemic, I had not heard of Zoom. Hands on, I learned how to use Zoom. Okay. Uh,
Yes,
yes,
that's
you
why.
want to add?
Yeah, that's why education is such a dynamic thing. Because, for example, like I believe all of us are around the same age group, 30 to 40, I believe.
More or
So,
less, more or less.
okay, I'm trying to.
Maybe
I'm
not
trying
now,
to.
Cham.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay. Remember connectedness? Remember connectedness? Okay, connected.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so like if we compare maths during our time, for example, we learn, okay, maybe we learn simple problem solving question. Maybe okay, one times six, or 6 times 5. The question is very direct. But now
Okay.
you'll be surprised to see year one math syllabus. For example, they'll be teaching addition, 76 plus 35. They have to
Wow.
partition the number 70 plus 6, 30 plus 5. So it's
Oh, okay.
so a lot have grown in the past, in the past 20, 15, 20 years education wise.
Yeah,
This is only
yeah,
earlier
yeah.
syllabus. Yeah.
Yeah, I really cannot help. Mathematics was, I have a love-hate relationship, depending on the teacher, whether the teacher makes sure I understand or not, or she pays attention to the smart students. Okay, so I really cannot, I struggle to help my nieces with their mathematics homework because the what do you call it? Um, the in Malay we say jalan kerja. In English, is it the working scheme or
Calculation work
whatever?
or working scheme. Yeah.
Working scheme.
Okay, the
Yes.
Working
working
scheme.
scheme is more complex than what I learned. Okay, so and you just gave us a little sample of that by explaining how this what was it, 6 times 5 and all that stuff. Okay, um, and so not this not everyone is academically inclined, or shall we say good at scoring and memorizing for exams. Okay, some people who are maybe perhaps are more skilled with their hands, or they are more creative in ideas. This is where hi Jack, yes, Kumon mathematics, that's another way of, I think they use the abacus, and there's a, correct me if I'm wrong, that is one of the ways they are taught, and they've got some shortcuts in learning mathematics. Okay, so where I was going to with this is when we were brainstorming, and also in recent years, you have brought it up. And in recent years in Malaysia, I don't know in other parts of the world, whether in India and elsewhere, whether vocational education, vocational training, previously, maybe up till about maybe 4 5 years ago, in Malaysia, if you were to pursue vocational training, people would really look down on you as if you're not a smart or clever person. Perhaps you're taking the easy way out. But since the education system changed, and I think the minister also that came in recent times was very putting a very positive, very progressive approach on vocational training. And then we have the Tibet thing. So, Sham, is the vocational training in India a popular thing?
I think they are trying to have a balance between regular education and vocational training because you need every type of person, right? Every type of skill set to be cultivated. I'm part of a group which is called Alt Ed, Alternative Education. We are trying to bridge the gap between regular education at schools and what is needed out there. When someone comes out of the schooling system, they're not quite prepared with certain skill sets like critical thinking, applying skills, and also communication skills. So
Yes,
there is
especially writing and spoken.
exactly, and also the way critical thinking is also important because everything is spoon fed. It's kind of rote learning, as they say. You know, you don't actually do practical things. So in this project that I'm part of, it's someone who's experienced, or many people who are experienced, they come and give talks and they give you some practical application of how you use critical thinking. And it starts small, it has to start young. We believe it has to start young. And there's no dearth of how you can really build this. And I'm sure Alish, he's one of the youngest here in this group, and he's doing so much with his influence. And I believe that youngsters is where, I mean, the future of the world lies in the hands of the younger generation, right?
Yes.
And we, as last year's Andrea had it as the young and the wise.
Yes,
Some
that
of
was the
those,
theme of last year's
yeah,
summit.
yeah, there's a lot of wisdom that we can get from those who have experience, but there are also a lot of youngsters who are beyond their age with wisdom, and I'll quote Alish as one of them. And so there's a lot we can do to bridge that gap between what's the regular normal schooling system of personal growth and what there are other aspects of personal growth that could be addressed. So I feel that, as Andrea says, the sky is not the limit. There are no limits. So
Correct.
yeah, there's a lot that we can do. Yes.
Yeah, there are no limits. It's just that each of us, we're used to our comfort zone, and perhaps some of us are not very comfortable, or we're scared of failure or rejection, So it's we do the best we can do. Alish, since Sham mentioned you, would you like to say something?
Actually, I would like to comment on what you just shared. I mean, earlier, both Yuva and Christian about some of the kids having troubles learning. I think if you just tell them this is gonna give you the result, like this math question is gonna give you the result to your crush's phone number, they're gonna do it very perfectly. You don't have to worry about it. It's just the motivation. Like I said, the motivation is missing for a 5 times 6, but give them a good motivation, they're gonna learn it, no problem.
This is where I think Yuva, you try to make learning mathematics as fun as possible, right?
Yes, because I know maths is like a nightmare for certain kids and adults as well. So
Including me.
like,
So if
Excluded,
you
excluded. I love maths.
okay, okay,
if
okay.
if I had a teacher who taught in an interesting and fun way, I think I would love it. Carry on, Yuva.
So for me, realizing that fact that maths is a nightmare for many kids, I I include humor because like I like to make jokes. I like to make like comical jokes. So I make some jokes. I will like make like basically teacher is like multifaceted and multi-talented. So not just you have to
Yeah.
teach, you have to being a teacher is like you have to become an actor, you have to become a comedian, you have to become a director, you have to become at times nanny for small kids because like small kids are like babies, so you have to take care of it. So it's like all of this encompasses the job of a teacher. So
Yes.
so yeah, I mean like
Yuva, do you want to give us an example of how do you make learning mathematics fun?
oh yeah, I mean like for me like I mean all of you has a have like a little trailer into gamification when you listen to
Okay, one of our
shifts.
listeners
Yeah.
is talking about physics. That's advanced mathematics. Hi, Shiv.
Actually, I graduated with a physics degree.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Okay. We let Yuva finish. Then Cynthia, you can tell us about how physics is so fascinating for you. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Hi, Angela. Thank you for telling us who you are.
Okay, so during my lessons, I think all of you have a little trailer with shift during the pre-launching event, gamification quizzes. So
Yes.
similarly in education, we do have many quizzes portal like we have quizzes,
Okay.
we have Kahoot, especially Kahoot because I tell you whenever I bring the students to computer room in our school, the
Yes.
students say, "Yay, sir, Kahoot, 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 let's go Kahoot, yay!" so whenever they play, they get excited. They'll get more excited on playing Kahoot than on the lesson itself. And trust me,
Okay.
Kahoot, when the Kahoot game can go so intense,
Yes.
they'll be jumping on the desk, jumping on the chair, they'll be dancing for the marks. So yeah, so that's how
Wow. So
you
it becomes a carnival.
exactly a little carnival, yeah. So that's how you encourage them to learn maths and is through these gamification elements. Yeah.
Cool. So Cynthia, your degree is in physics, is it?
Yeah, I did my bachelor's degree in physics, and then later on I did my business administration because I felt
Okay.
that I was more interested in business entrepreneurship. But to start off with maths, actually,
Yes.
maths was my favorite subject, and I think that was triggered because
Okay, so
my
you and you must partner up, collaborate.
no, but something actually happened in between. Yeah, because my father actually he's very good at maths, and I think
Okay,
because he was able to actually help me with that, I kind of like naturally developed my liking in maths, and
okay,
I think I generally am a very curious kid. Um,
okay,
and so all these calculations makes me very excited. And I always caught my A's for maths until I went to matriculation, and then
okay.
I scored a C.
Oh dear.
Yuva, this is like,
I
yeah, I
think
can see
you
Yuva's
and
face right now.
Yuva can commiserate on how things were going well, and then suddenly the grade changed, and how
Yeah, and
frustrating and disappointing.
I think it just kind of got like complicated because at that point, I had to decide like what degree I had to do when I entered my, once I complete my matriculation. And
Okay.
because of that, I felt that, okay, I don't think maths would be good for me. So I kind of like, went into like, what's the nearest thing to maths? And that was like physics, right? But one thing that I actually wanted to highlight was this. When I was studying physics in my, physics is all about, you learn all these principles, the laws and all that. And there was still maths in it. And I hated this question where the exam question will ask you, prove the following equation. I think even in
That one
maths,
I know Yuva will love, but you hate it.
yeah. And I think it's just like more it was just a little bit more complicated when it involves certain physics principles as well. But the thing is that regardless, I had this one lecturer that
Uh-huh.
whenever he actually taught us a principle or a
Hmm.
certain law,
Yes.
he would always say that all of these laws that you're learning is actually natural laws. Now, back
Ah.
then, I didn't really understand what these natural laws were. But now,
Okay.
fast forward about 10 plus years, and as I continue my, my own journey in my own personal development, I kind of understood what he meant by natural laws. And these natural laws are simply laws that, actually are there. It happens naturally, whether you like it or not, whether you are aware of it or not. And some of these laws, like for example, like gravity, you cannot say
Yes.
that um, uh, I am going to jump from a platform and dive into the swimming pool and say that no, I want to stay on the platform when I'm attempting to dive. It doesn't work that day. If you want to dive, you're gonna dive because gravity is gonna, it's
Correct.
law,
I
right?
mean, after a while, your feet are gonna get numb, or you are gonna just naturally slide off the diving board.
Exactly. And these are the kind of natural laws. And when people talk about things like law of attraction, these are the kind of laws that happen naturally, but we never know about it. you know it's just there. Now when I say physics, the one of the things that I learned a lot in physics is
Mm-hmm.
whenever there's energy is always frequency and vibration. Back then it didn't connect, but now it's connecting, after all this my own personal
Okay,
development. Yeah.
I'm lost. I don't know whether Sham and Alish. Alish studied mechanical engineering, so physics is something I believe you're quite good at, right?
It was a part of my studies, but whether I'm good at it, please don't ask. Thank you.
No, what I meant is I'm lost. But maybe what Cynthia just said, Yuva and you understand.
No, actually it's something which is very very general. Now if I were to put it, is very easy to say that within all of us we are actually a form or a mass of energy.
Yes, they call it chi.
Yes, part of it, right? Because every cell in us, now this is going to go like a little
Okay,
bit into
Angela
biology.
says there are 11 other universal laws apart from the law of attraction. Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Yeah, so there are all these natural laws, the universal laws, which we all call it, and these are something which we discover as we are on our own journey in our own self growth, in our own personal development. And if I were to just share this story, something about what some of you shared earlier when it comes to vocational education. and
Mm-hmm.
how the education system is changing. Now,
Yes.
I have my eldest daughter is 3 years plus. I just sent her to nursery this year. And
Okay.
the other day, when she came back from school, she told me, "Mommy, I did meditation today." And I was like, "You
Wow,
did
they're
meditation
teaching
at that school
meditation
at
to
3 years
3 year
old?"
olds. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and I only learned meditation like what 5 6 years back. Yeah, so I think this is how, the fact that people are aware of all these mindfulness subjects, of all these, people getting more conscious of personal growth, and they're actually practicing this in the younger generation. I think this is how, I would say how blessed the next generation is going to be with all
Yes,
this resource.
yes. I agree that the generation, since we were saying that we are all, Juva was very nicely putting it, that we are around the same
Uh,
cohort, shall we say.
I'm not
Um,
gonna talk about the ages, please.
no, 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 no.
It's
I'm not
very
talking
dangerous.
about that. I'm not talking about that. I said around the same cohort. I deliberately didn't use the word age because I knew someone was going to
I
pick
know
up
all
on
of you
that.
are 21 max, 21 years, maybe a few months, 100 months, 200 months, doesn't matter.
No, what I'm saying is the opportunities and tools and exposure that uh, from our generation, which is across a few generations, varies compared to the generation in the last few years. They are born into the digital age. They are more very skilled and readily. If you don't know how to use something on the handphone or the computer, you ask the youngest member of your family. They are the number one resource for you. So that's what I'm saying. So they're very fortunate in terms of the tools that are available to them. So uh, perhaps the next thing we can talk about is what are the Cynthia was mentioning it, and also I was thinking about it. It's fortunate that we have many different tools. We've got
Correct.
Google, we got Wikipedia, we've got YouTube, you've got Zoom, you've got Dialpad, Amit, name it. There is so much of tools. The challenge comes in when we need to not get so overwhelmed or so bogged down on using all these tools, because yes, we were talking about curiosity, we are talking about connectedness, we are talking about direction. you know um what would be the tips or suggestions that you would have, so that people who are struggling to figure out what to use or not to be overwhelmed, what how can they go about this?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this tip is regarding students and also minors and children. Well, this is where the parental supervision comes into hand, because, like you
Okay.
see, um, adults are not like, I mean, children are not like adults, because we can stare at the screen a whole day and we can be fine. But children, they are they
But we're
are
not
you know
but we're not advocating staring at the screen the whole day. Otherwise, we'll have eye strain and double vision and whatever not. But yes, I do get your point, Yuva.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. I mean that children cognitive level, they are not mature enough to process what they're seeing as on the screen, especially on the screen, because children, they are attracted to colors, sounds, all these things. So if you don't monitor your children's screen time, they will get attracted to it, and somehow they will develop screen fatigue. It means like they will like staring at screen at long hours, and then they will develop this. It will tend to develop into laziness, lack of focus, and there are some cases it could develop into ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. So these are very serious stuff. So what the parents should do is, parents should monitor the children. It's not to say don't allow, but just monitor your children screen usage. Maximum maybe 2 hours per day, not more than that. Yeah, that's one tip that we can do. Parental supervision.
Okay, one of the things that just came to me was I have some friends who regularly, what do they call it? Digital detox. They take a break from Facebook. As far as I know, I hear most of them taking a break from Facebook. I don't know whether anyone. Okay, I think someone else I know, I think, took a break from LinkedIn for a while. So digital detox is another way, I suppose. Sham, any thoughts on this?
I think though we have a lot of what shall I say, access to digital stuff, devices and the internet with everything that it has to offer, which is really, really good. I remember what I think it was Einstein who said when the car, when the car was first invented, that it was a agent of destruction or something, that it had the potential to be an agent of destruction. But you know that vehicles now, we can't live without vehicles, right? So likewise, the internet and access to it, it has so much good to it. But also it can destroy you if you allow it, if you do not control or you do not have some self-discipline, or if someone, as in the case of children, applies some sort of boundaries to how far they can go. So for me, it is a way, it is a tool, the access to digital information and all that. But personal growth, the future of personal growth, it has
Yes,
been, is, and it will be the same. It's about connection, the connections that we have with the people around us, with ourselves, and of course the environment around us. So, is digital information or digital access going to hamper it or actually accentuate it? And that's where I think we need to think about what we need to think about the future of personal growth is how far are we going to immerse ourselves in the access to all of this and actually realize at the end of the day, it's what is the basic principles of love, kindness, respect, mutual respect, and all these things are so, so very important for personal growth. And that's not through, you don't need digital devices for that. You can just practice it around you. As my granddad used to say, charity begins at home.
true.
You start with yourself and you start with the people around you and maybe your neighbors, your neighborhood. And then, of course, you go progressing further. So I think whatever you have, I know this nice quote by Theodore Roosevelt, Eleanor
Okay.
Roosevelt, someone said just now. And he
Yeah,
said,
you
do
are.
whatever you have, do whatever you can, whatever you
Okay.
have, wherever you are. And that applies to all of us through the span of time, whether it's all over in the future as well. Whatever we have, we use it the best way possible for each of us. And what that is different for each individual. So
True.
just live your lives best way you can. And that's all I have to say. Back to you, Krishan.
Thank you, Sham. Okay, the other thought that just came to me, right, is we are now in what Web 3.0, the metaverse, virtual reality, and things that are very immersive. What do you call it? NFT and cryptocurrency and all that. And some people have very excitedly jumped onto the bandwagon because they don't want to miss out. I personally have. I mean, I have been reading about it and exposing myself to it as much as possible. But and then there's a lot of people are using TikTok, and I don't know what other platforms there are. I personally have no use for TikTok, so I did not join TikTok. I'm very practical that way. Alish, how about you? You are into digital marketing. What is your take on the tools that are available, and perhaps do we put in certain safeguards, restrict the amount of time we use digital devices or platforms so that it doesn't affect our health?
I think I share a very similar view to what Sham mentioned just now. Um, I want to touch on a bit of what Sham shared just now when it comes to uh, even the question you asked earlier about the probably the restrictions we should put on our kids, for example, or for the safety and so on. Or they're very fortunate these days because they have a lot of resources available to them. At the same time, I think it's not really a good comparison to say, okay, these kids these days have these at their disposal. 50 years
Okay.
ago, they didn't have it because today they're at the risk that those 50 years ago they didn't have.
True. Very true.
So in that sense, I think Shar mentioned it very, 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 very well. Where in any era you are, there is some advantages, some disadvantages. You might have more risk in certain aspect. You might have more resources in some other ways. And the best way is just kind of not think too much about it, like not overthink it. Instead, just try to live the best of what you can. As a
Okay.
parent, like Sham mentioned, you should just focus on showing your kids how to live a good life, how to have certain good values like respect,
Yes.
soft skills, things like enjoying their life as a kid. You know how many people grow up not enjoying their life because they all kept going to, tuition classes and school and like back to back other classes that their parents forced them to. So that kind of creates a loophole when they grow up, right? It is not something that can be filled again over the years. It is something that they missed and will be missed forever. So as a
True.
kid, I would say do whatever your parents allow you to do. And please, parents, be so cool to them. Don't say, "Oh no, don't do that," without explaining why. Right? Explain the
True.
why. Why this
Yes.
is good for you, why this is not good for you. Now you make the decision. So as they learn the whys and the curiosities and experiencing and making mistakes, please don't be afraid of making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how they learn. So if let's say I make a mistake by logging on to my parents' computer because I wasn't sure how to do it, now I did it. So now I know. The next time I shouldn't do it. This is my point of view. I wouldn't, even if later on, if hopefully become a dad, I would just do this to my own kids as well. I don't mind them going out, break a leg or something, or
Oh wow, very
play
liberal.
in the
Very good.
mud,
Very good.
play in the mud, make their clothes dirty, play in the water, catch cold. It's fine. They learn. They won't die out of it, right? They will learn from it. So next time they know how to avoid catching cold.
Okay, learn from your mistakes, let them explore. Don't put restrictions on them and explain to them why you have certain rules. Yes, yeah, that's very, very important. I think most parents nowadays they are realizing that don't just come up with rules and say you can't do this, but explain why. And you yourself have to demonstrate, be the model of good behavior so that the
Exactly.
child who watches this will also follow suit. So teach them good habits, good things.
Yeah. Some
Yeah,
some parents have this rule that do what I say, but don't do what I do.
correct, correct, correct. That one I know all of us can resonate with. Very unfair, but well, when you're
Yeah.
living under their household and you are dependent on them, there's no running away from that. Okay. Yes, Yuva, you want to add something?
Um, um, sorry, Cynthia, can I just bring a little point because
Sure, sure,
just
sure, no
now,
problem. Go ahead.
yeah, because I don't want to, because I totally agree with what Alish says that we should given an opportunity to learn from mistake because I just want to like because I remember I saw a video a talk from the famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse, who
Okay.
mentioned that children are scientists. Children
Oh,
are naturally born scientists, but parents they put all these rules, say don't break the glass, don't break the egg. So for example, they
Let
might
them break it.
children like young kids, for example, like they say, oh, an egg very nice, so they say if I
but
drop the
before they
egg.
can do anything, the adult will come and say, "Hang on, be careful, don't
Yeah,
mess up the plates. You're giving me extra work."
yeah.
Continue, Yuva. Sorry to
Yeah, so
interrupt.
you say, oh, egg, very interesting. If I drop the egg on the floor, will it break? So before, as you say, before they drop the egg on the floor, parents say, don't drop the egg. You're making a
Before
mess
they
on the
drop the
floor.
egg, they drop a
Uh,
ball on their head.
so yeah, I mean, like as parents, I mean future parents and also like current parents, they should let children learn from their mistake because mistake is the best. Mistake and experience are the best teacher one could ever get. I believe that.
True.
Thank you.
I agree. Because for me, I learn things and grasp things better when I do it hands-on. Theory is well and good, and this ties in a little bit to what Alish and Yuva are saying. Cynthia, as a parent of young children, um, is there anything you want to add to this?
At some point I would have to agree with Alish because really these days the fact that there's even personal growth in terms of parenting. When I became a parent uh, 3 years ago, 3 years plus now, um, I started looking for resources of how parenting, what are certain concept or models of parenting that is there. And I think back then, those days, the previous generation, they would just kind of like model the generation before them. But the fact that now parents actually have much more resources when it comes to parenting, and I think this is something that I would advise parents to look out for. Look out at the different concepts of parenting, because when I found out this, there's conscious parenting, there's gentle parenting, and that there's always the hard way of doing things as well. I think most of us I think
Mashallah, you don't do this, I'm going to bring out the rotan or the cane. Oh, you
yeah,
will not be able to use your devices.
yeah. So I think this I think we were kind of brought up in that situation, maybe our generation. But right now, what I'm trying to say is that parents, young parents especially, have much more resources that they can access. And and the thing is that it doesn't mean, even though you may have turned out to be good the way your parents parented you, that doesn't
Okay.
mean that the way you're going to parent your kids is going to work for them. Because
Yes,
again, like what
agreed.
Sham said, the generation these days, they are born with, they are just in a different era, they're in a different generation. They are born with different things, the digital world that they're born in. And you can't tell them that, oh no, at this age you're not supposed to use handphones and things like that, because everybody uses it, right? and
There are
and I,
ways around this, Cynthia. Like my nieces do not have device. They do not have handphones.
yeah, they no, they do not have handphones, but they try to meddle with their parents handphones, and
You
out,
mean
out of
negotiate or
curiosity.
manipulate?
So out of curiosity, my daughter loves my camera app. She's like, that's the camera app, I want to take picture. Back then, we all had all those Fuji films, all that film
Or the
strips, all that.
instant camera, or the just the old fashioned camera with the analog film.
Yeah, the old fashioned camera. Back then
The
we had,
instant one
that.
is so modern, Christian. You're talking about years
No,
before
no, no.
that.
I'm talking because Cynthia is talking. I believe about the instant one. Am I right or wrong, Cynthia?
What I was no, actually I was talking about the analog one. Back then that's
Okay.
what we had, right? But these
Yes.
days it's so easy for the kids to look at your phone and say that, yeah, I know that's a camera app, and I just want to use the camera app. I don't want to use anything else. I just want to use the camera app to take pictures,
Yeah,
right?
and then they
So
will very quickly put a filter. They'll be smarter than us adults. They already put the filter before, while we are still struggling to figure that one out.
yeah, so I think that is, this is something which the kids are born in. And I think when it comes to parents, it's just yeah,
Yes,
I'll
El,
say
the
it's
days
Kodak
of Kodak
Fuji.
and Fujifilm, and then having to patiently wait until the printed photo comes out. Not right now. We have the handphone, we have the digital camera. Instantly, you can see. You
Instant,
don't like
right?
it, you can delete and take a brand new photo.
Yeah. So I'll come back to the point of, the personal
Sure.
growth for parents, right? I think it's very important. Even like now, I would actually give them like choices. Like even though they are 3 years old, if we are going out and I have to pick their dresses or whatever, I'll probably pick two and say, okay, which one do you want to wear? I
None
kind of
of
like shortlist it. Yeah. And I think it's good in the sense of you train their brain to actually start making choices, at a very young age, because you don't want to be picking up, make the decision for them. And after some time, you tell them that, okay, now it's time for you to make a decision. Then at that point, they might not have the critical thinking of, okay,
Yes.
what do I do? Yeah.
Yes, this ties in a little bit to what Sham is talking about, that when we finish our academic education, uh, then when you need to find a job, or uh, work with people in a team and all that, you don't have certain necessary and important skills like critical thinking, communication, how to work in a team. Because in school there were so many children in the class, and the teacher was struggling to give equal attention to all the students. And then what the thought that occurred to me just now, right, when Cynthia was talking about choices and all that, and Alish was talking about, okay, play in the rain, fall sick, get messy and all that stuff, ties in a little to what I was thinking, that, and I'm hoping that things have changed, is that, um, you know, um, not all of us were given choices what we wanted to study. Okay, that's a very simple thing. I think most of us can resonate with. But I knew, because I come from a very traditional, conservative thinking family, I knew I was going to face resistance. So I'm proactive. So I did my research, I made my point, and then I said, let me do this. I will prove you right. And when I prove, prove myself right, then the person kept their mouth shut and let me continue what I did. How about y'all? Did y'all have the freedom to study what you wanted or do whatever you wanted?
I
Yes,
think
Yuva, you want to? Yeah.
yeah.
Who wanted to
Uh,
say something?
I think this time I will let the ladies to do the talking first. So yeah.
Okay,
Uh
Sham.
well I, yeah,
Sham,
Sham, you
would
want to
you
go
would you
first?
like to say something? You've had a nice break listening to all of us. What would you like to say
And
about it?
I've enjoyed listening to all of you actually. Yes, I had the freedom to some extent. It wasn't at my during my time when dinosaurs used to roam the earth and that. No,
Dinosaurs. Okay.
okay, okay. Well, during my time, we didn't have any choices. What was the good thing to go to? So it was limited. It was science, arts, commerce, law, or something like that. So that
Hmm.
was limited. But yes, my parents gave me the choice of choosing what I wanted to do, and also where I wanted to do it later on in life. Where, though I'm born and bred in Malaysia, I went on to study in India. So that was something I got. But I would like to say that, what Angela Iber pointed out earlier in the
Yes.
chat. Um, you need to understand. You need when you deal with children, you need them to also understand your perspective of why you're putting certain boundaries, so that they'll be able to they ask them, as she said, why do you think I'm putting this boundary? And if they can think for themselves, it really helps. Because when my experience of going abroad to study, I was faced with different challenges. And because of the boundaries, or rather the discipline that I got from my parents, I have to thank them. It was easier for me to say no to those, what should I say, attractions or things that could take me downhill, because I learned what could be right for me or what could be wrong for me from them. So sometimes I think it is the parents' duty to put some boundaries, not all the time,
Okay.
of course, with freedom to think and do, but to also know why those boundaries are there. It's just to help or assist, but not to constrict. So there is a
Yes.
fine balance. It's easy
It's
being a
about
parent.
providing structure.
Yes, exactly. And it allows you to think and, to proceed in a better way in the future. So I thank my parents for that. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's my
okay.
point of view.
Thank you, Sham. We have about four minutes left before we need to wrap up. Alish, any last thoughts?
Uh, I think a lot of people um take the personal growth in a way that, okay, this is something I have to do, this is something I have to go find out, research about, and find out my passion and pursue my passion, 5-year goals, I have to reach there. To me, I never experienced any of them, and I think it's
Wow, you are really fortunate, Alish.
maybe unfortunate, who knows. Maybe the other way around, right?
Okay.
To me, it's just, if you really have a motivation or a strong why
Yes.
or a strong interest in something, everything
Okay.
else falls into place automatically without you even knowing. Like, I remember a
True. When
couple of
you
years ago.
also when you think positively, It's not always going to fall into play, but if things happen a certain way, the higher being or the universe has a plan. There's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but we
What?
are running short of time. Cynthia, would you like to quickly say something?
Okay, I think I'll just summarize the whole thing and just end with this. That you see, we always upgrade our laptops, we upgrade our phones, we upgrade even the software in our phones, and
Yes,
sometimes we forget that we actually have to upgrade ourselves. So always look for that chance to upgrade yourself through
very
personal growth.
important point. Yes, Yuva.
Okay, I'm just going to be quick. I just share a small story, but I'm going to be quick. 1 minute story. Well, I learned swimming at the age of 18.
Okay,
I started to learn music at the ripe age of 30. So,
okay,
so what I'm trying to say is that I mean and I learned podcasting only this setup only 2 years ago. So all of this, I was passionate about this from the young age, but I never got experience because I never got the chance because parents say like this all takes money. So I waited until I get my job on my own, get my own pay, and then invest in this. So what I'm trying to say is, age is just a number. Age
yes.
is never an obstacle to learn something new. You are never too old to learn something new. There's a proverb say you can always teach a new trick to an old dog. Yeah.
He's touching on the age again. I'm not gonna touch on
You've
that
turned
dangerous
Yuva
topic.
has turned that the very famous phrase around. Eh, if I recall correctly, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but okay, never mind. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. So we've had a very dynamic conversation, and we've covered as much as possible in 1 hour. And I appreciate all of you, your perspective, your personal sharing, your suggestions and tips and all that. Um, so I hope those of you who were tuned in enjoyed this conversation. And please feel free to comment on the video, and you can rewatch and put forward any questions. And we will all start looking to see if there's anything that our conversation has sparked an idea or thought or something with our fellow listeners. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you at the following sessions. Okay, back to you, Andrea.
Bye, everyone.